Hello there. Hi, I'm Missy. I just happen to be a combat vet. Not because I'm a war vet, because a war vet doesn't make you a combat vet. But I served decades ago. Well, this man named Pete Hegseth was still Hegseth, whatever you call his name. He was, by the way, never active duty. Some silly person thought, I don't know where he got the delusional idea, that this man was a Navy SEAL. I've heard so many different things, but there's a lot of people, they act like he's got a lot of veteran support. Well, he does have his veteran sexist friends who, of course, the people of the same feathers flock together, are supportive of him. But here's what happened today. Today, speaking of today, has, by the way, finally come to updated news on the fact that Pete Hegseth has given appearance of reversing his position on women in combat. Now, I shared a video the other day of him blatantly saying, almost say it point blank, women don't belong in combat. Now, he didn't say or articulate that he was talking about specific roles, because some people may try to use one argument to, you have a couple different types of people who are giving argument to basically defend his position. And by the way, I'm a Republican, okay? And that doesn't mean I have to accept anything that Republicans do blindly. And by the way, it's not just Republicans who will confirm him if he's confirmed. It will be both Democrats and Republicans. So I don't want to hear anybody, if he gets confirmed, saying that, oh, the Republicans are sexist. No, it takes both parties to confirm this man, just saying. Anywho's, but as I was saying, there's two types of defense arguments for this person. One, they're trying to say that, oh, well, it's just the specific jobs that are a little bit more, physically demanding that women don't belong in, like Special Forces, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, But that doesn't make a combat person. That doesn't make a combat veteran. Okay, on more to that subject. Then there is the person who understands that he did not articulate to say specific jobs women don't belong in. No, he vaguely, generally said all women in combat do not belong in combat. If he had his way, he would separate women and men at war as if, I don't know, like in some Muslim country or something where they separate them. You know how many countries have both women and men serving together? What about the police forces? You do know that women are not separated when you're out there in the field. When there's gunfire, there's gunfire. Y'all have to respond the same way. Women face combat in the police force as well. So it's not just an attack or an assault on military women. It's a sexist ideology, which, by the way, God himself, the creator of all things and all universes, chose a woman to defeat Jabin's army with hand combat by putting a tent peg through the skull of Sisera. And yes, I am convinced that women are made different than men because God made them that way. And they are actually physically weaker. But you know what? It doesn't mean that they can't do the jobs. There's some things, that specific jobs that are more physically demanding, that many men also flunk. It means they have to work twice as hard. So I personally wouldn't go after those jobs, but if there's women who have the physical ability to be legendary, to take on that role and actually pass tests that half the men that go in that course cannot pass, I'll say more power to them. And that's kind of what United States Supreme Court has also said. Therefore, Pete Hegseth is also speaking against all of the justices, to include the ones that Trump have even appointed, if you follow the Supreme Court cases, that is. Then there is the fact that I applaud, in one respect, the fact that whenever something negative happens, there's always a positive side to it. Well, usually. Okay. In this particular situation, all they really did in his comment about saying that women don't belong in combat was put a flag, a very bright red neon flag, upon the heads of people to mark themselves who support him, who have spoke up and said, oh, I support who says. Thank you for making that known so that I can identify you as somebody I will not attach myself to nor have anything to do with, but pray for you from a distance. Because toxic people who are trying to devalue women, I don't hate them. I just really don't want anything to do with them. Really, truly. Okay, I went through the military, and at the time that I went through the military, there wasn't as many women in the military as there are now. I was on bases where there was very, very tiny handful of women, and it was very hard. And I dealt with all kinds of sexist dudes. And I've been in management and leadership positions where I'm over and hiring and training men, and and a lot of them, and depending on what state you're in or from, they have some serious attitudes. And women have really come a long way in dealing with sexist attitudes. And he is a classic epitome of the ideology of sexist. That doesn't mean he doesn't have good qualities and whatever, even though I'm not going to go into the fact that, yeah, he's definitely got some serious problems. And I understand that they will definitely point out all the negative things about a person when it involves politics. But the fact of the matter is, he's never even served a single solitary day as an employee of any active duty branch. That's my big issue with him. He's not qualified. He doesn't have the experience. And my issue is that Trump, although he's got some positive things to vote for him. I've always said, even though I am a Republican and supporting the Republican Party, I've always said, you don't blindly accept any president, nor do you always just disregard and just call out everything a president does is wrong, because there is no such thing as a perfect president. Okay? I don't like a lot of things that Biden has done, but I support some of the things he's done. And I don't like a lot of the things that Trump has done. Some of the things he says, they're just politics. It's just politicians. Okay, and I've gone into those details, but it doesn't matter. The things that needed to be done was the reasons why I vote for the Republican Party. But I'm not going to accept every person that he appoints or nominates or whatever. But when I see something, and this is really the only person, Matt Gaetz, respectfully, he stepped down, thankfully. But this guy, no. He doesn't, I think it's to the point where it's sad that we don't have legislation to set standards for appointing these positions, such as when you're leading the entire military, you cannot have never served a day in an active duty branch. Yes, he was deployed. Okay, so what? He was deployed. He doesn't even have a Purple Heart. I know a lot of people that have Purple Hearts, right? That's a very honorable medal to have. The medals he have, yeah, he doesn't even have a Purple Heart, guys. And he never even served in active duty. He was a deployed guardsman. So you have generals and admirals and colonels, and you have a lot of people who have spent their entire life sacrificing their freedom to live whatever they, do, switch jobs whenever they feel, want to, and live wherever they want to. You really do sacrifice your freedom to be an active duty soldier. You really do. And unless you lived that lifestyle, you wouldn't know, right? So for this guy to never even have served in active duty, and generals and people who have, for example, our current Department of Defense Secretary, I may not agree with everything that he has purported. Absolutely, he is definitely an experienced person. He spent 41 years in active duty. He's a 4-star general, and it is no easy task to make any rank of general status. And to be a 4-star general and have served and led in U.S. Central Command. And this guy has the audacity, after he has already insulted women from around the world in all the military combat forces there are around the world, okay? He has basically insulted every general of the world as well, because he had the audacity to sit with Megyn Kelly, who should hide her face somewhere, okay? Because her idea of journalism was ridiculous. She makes the right, if she's supposed to be for the Republicans, look as bad as the Democrats when it comes to media. It was so biased, and it was ridiculous that this man sat there and said, talking about, people leading and insulting the generals, all of the generals, okay, as if they're just people who sit in the office, AC office, while actual soldiers serve in the battlefield. Okay, the problem with that statement is that in order to be a general, you've already served several deployments. You start out, you do understand you start out at the bottom, at the lowest rank that you can get, right? So you have your non-commissioned officers of acting first sergeants, and then you have sergeant majors and all these high-ranking non-commissioned officers. And then you have your commissioned officers. But you don't just start out at the top. You start out at the very bottom as a private, okay? Or, you start out low-ranking if you're an officer, and you work your way up. They valiantly served, okay? And then they had to go through a lot of things to get to that rank. So those people with those ranks, they deserve respected. But he sits there and insults them like they're just a nothing person who sits in AC office. I mean, it's just like every time he opens his mouth, he just puts a big fat shoe in it with poo-poo hanging off of it. He's just, the problem is Trump doesn't have any friends in the military that he could just go through the ranks of high-ranking, experienced, high-ranking non-commissioned officers and officers. He doesn't have any friends in the military. He never served in the military, okay? He doesn't have anything in those circles. So he chooses some dude who he's just basically some pliable person who is, it's bad that he chose him because of what he said. So at any rate, today covered the story that it appears that Hegseth has reversed his position. Sure, because they're doing damage control. They're like, okay, dude, this thing you said is taking a lot of heat from a lot of people from literally around the world. Okay, literally around the world. Leaders have spoke up from around the world. Okay, you probably missed it because if you're somebody who's not looking for that, yeah, you missed it. But they literally have insulted world leaders, military from around the world have spoke up like, what the heck? So he did. He said that. And it's problematic because he's also speaking against, this has been a battle through the United States Supreme Court. There are recent actions of specific jobs that have recently opened up for women. If he is only talking about those jobs, he needs to articulate that. But they've already won that in the United States Supreme Court. So if he's going to try to fight the rulings of the United States Supreme Court, then all he's going to do is open up legal battle. But not what his position is. His position and his statement was very generalized, and he very clearly said that women don't belong in combat. And the problem with that is, okay, it doesn't take that much muscle to pull a trigger, and women have been out there being shot at and shooting, taking prisoners, and I'm sorry, you don't take a fist to a gunfight, okay? So it's not like they're out there in hand-to-hand combat. All right? If there is people that need to be in types of wars where that is necessary in this day and age, then there are specific things that they can do to train them for that. There are women in police force who, by the way, at what time of the day does a woman officer know whether or not she's going to have to face hand-to-hand combat with any particular person who wants to kill her instead of going to jail if she's trying to arrest that person? Huh? I think women in police force are definitely more valiant even than military because, first of all, as a person, when you're at war, we kind of got an idea who our enemy is. And we got some high, suspicions of people who are hostiles if they're not acting in the moment as a hostile that, this person over here, you know what I'm saying? You know who your enemies are, bottom line. But in the police force, you have no idea if some little old lady ain't gonna turn around, whip out a gun, and shoot you in the face. No, seriously. That's the life of a police officer. Or if something that looks like pretty easy arrest turns out to be very dangerous. They face unknowns every day they put on their uniform. And women have been fighting side to side with male police officers, okay? So this is a serious statement that he made, and it's very problematic for our country, trying to take us backwards. All right? So I don't accept everybody who claims to be a Republican. I don't accept everything that a Republican politician does. And I most certainly do not ever follow somebody blindly who says they're going to pass laws or do this and do that. Okay? Congress writes the laws, Congress votes on the budget, and Congress has to confirm every person who's going to be put in a role in administration of the president. And don't anyone think that it's going to be the Republicans to blame if this sexist person gets in office, because Democrats both are voting for him. I hope you Democrats who think that Republicans are against women, I hope you remember that. If he gets confirmed, y'all need to be contacting your Democratic legislator now and say, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. If you vote, okay, if you vote for this man right here, you are definitely a part of the campaign against women, and you cannot blame the Republicans for it. I'm serious. Nobody who says women don't belong in combat belongs over the military of the United States of America. And all you sexist men out there who want to sit here and you know what's interesting? That making this comment, my opinion, the abusers come out and think they're going to talk smack to me. And you think that you have a right to tell me what I'm allowed to think? And if I don't say something that you like or don't like, you want to sit there and talk smack to me? See, that's a sexist. That's a man who can't stand it when a woman has her own opinion that doesn't match yours. That is a sexist. And I love that when I point out this type of stuff in these videos, it identifies, it puts the mark on people, it puts the flag on them, so I know who they are to avoid. Anyways, I hope you have a blessed day.